a distress signal reached the United Galactic Fleet, carrying a simple yet urgent message from the distant colony on Sardon. Fear gripped the planet's inhabitants, their voices trembling as they described a mysterious entity wreaking havoc across the colony. The creature, which the colonists had named the Doomhound, seemed unstoppable, phasing through walls and leaving a trail of destruction wherever it went. With no other options, the United Galactic Fleet responded by dispatching Major Tom Hawk, a seasoned officer known for his level-headedness in crises, to neutralize the threat. Major Hawk's shuttle cut through the void toward the distant planet, his mind sharp and focused. Sitting in the cockpit of the USS Matla, he reviewed the colony's latest transmission. His dark eyes scanned the visuals of ruined buildings and panicked faces, but his expression remained unreadable, his calm presence a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding on Sardon. "We've dealt with worse," Hawk said, more to himself than his team. Around him sat the finest soldiers the fleet could offer, a diverse group handpicked for their expertise. Sergeant Roy, a burly man whose humor often lightened the mood during tense operations, leaned back in his seat. "A Doomhound? Sounds like something out of a children's story. Bet it's just some oversized critter. No problem for us, right?" Lieutenant Hannah Thompson, the team's xenologist, shot Roy a glance from her data pad. "Oversized critter or not, its phasing ability is something we've never encountered before. I wouldn't take it lightly." Hawk didn't reply to either of them. His focus was on the mission. As the shuttle broke through the planet's atmosphere, he caught his first glimpse of the colony below. Ruined structures dotted the landscape, smoke rising from shattered buildings. The alien colonists, known as Sarans, had retreated into their homes, hiding in fear. The moment they touched down, Hawk's boots hit the ground with a purpose. His team followed closely, eyes scanning the desolate streets. Dust stirred as they moved through what was once a bustling colony, now reduced to a shadow of its former self. They were greeted by Elder Varon, the leader of the Sarans. Varon was a tall, thin figure, his skin a pale blue, with luminescent eyes that seemed to glow even in the daylight. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Major Hawk, thank you for coming. We don't know what it is, this beast. It moves like a shadow, through walls and ceilings, leaving only destruction behind. Our weapons, they do nothing." Hawk's gaze was steady as he listened. "We'll take care of it, Elder Varon. But I need to know everything you can tell me. What does it look like? How does it move? Any details could help." Varon's hands shook as he spoke. "It's hard to describe, like smoke but solid. It appears and vanishes without warning. We've tried to trap it, but it slips through walls. Varon paused, his voice breaking. "It doesn't attack directly. It just destroys." Major Hawk absorbed the information, nodding slowly. "Stay inside, keep your people safe. We'll handle it from here." Without another word, Hawk signaled to his team. The mission was underway. They moved in small groups, each equipped with advanced tracking devices designed to detect any unusual energy signatures, anything that might give them a clue as to where the Doomhound was hiding. The air was thick with tension, every step echoing through the abandoned streets. Buildings, once filled with life, were now crumbling under the weight of fear and destruction. "Maybe it's just a really angry space cat," Sergeant Roy muttered as they passed a building partially collapsed, a forced attempt at humor to ease the tension. Hawk's lips barely twitched in response, but his eyes remained forward. "Focus!" As they ventured deeper into the colony, strange noises began to ripple through the air. Low growls, accompanied by what sounded like laughter. It was unsettling, like an eerie game the Doomhound was playing with them, always just out of sight. "Whatever it is, it's close," whispered Corporal Diaz, a tech specialist whose sharp senses had saved them more than once. The team rounded a corner, their movements deliberate and cautious. They approached a partially collapsed building, the source of the strange noises. Inside, the scene was chaotic. Furniture overturned, walls scarred with deep scratch marks. The air hummed with an unnatural energy. Suddenly, something small darted across their path, fast as a blur. Weapons raised in an instant, the soldiers froze, their training taking over. "Hold your fire," Hawk commanded, stepping forward to get a better look. From the shadows, the creature emerged fully, revealing itself not as a monstrous beast, but something altogether unexpected. It was small, barely reaching Hawk's knee, with large, curious eyes. Its dark fur shimmered, and its form seemed to flicker in and out of visibility, like a mirage. For a long moment, the team stood in stunned silence. Sergeant Roy was the first to react, lowering his weapon in disbelief. "Wait, is this for real? We've been terrorized by a puppy." The creature, oblivious to the fear it had caused, bounded forward, phasing straight through a pile of debris and knocking over a toolkit in the process. The team exchanged glances, their fear quickly dissolving into a mix of amusement and confusion. Major Hawk, ever the strategist, was quick to adjust. "This puppy may not be dangerous, but its abilities are. We need to contain it before it causes more damage." With a swift command, Hawk organized his team, moving with a precision and efficiency that had earned him his reputation. But capturing the creature proved more difficult than expected. The puppy's ability to phase through solid objects turned the operation into a comical game of cat and mouse. Each time they closed in, it would disappear, only to reappear in another part of the room, its tail wagging innocently. Eventually, using a piece of food as bait, Hawk managed to lure the creature into a containment field designed for volatile specimens. The puppy sat inside the glowing barrier, its eyes wide and playful, completely unaware of the trouble it had caused. The team regrouped, their initial terror replaced by a sense of disbelief. Hawk addressed the Saran colonists over the comm system, his tone calm and reassuring. "The Doomhound is no monster," he said. "It's just a puppy, a very special one, but not a threat. We'll take it back to our ship and ensure it doesn't cause any more harm." As the colonists breathed a collective sigh of relief, Major Hawk couldn't help but reflect on the strange turn the mission had taken. But in the depths of space, the unknown always carried surprises. With the puppy securely contained, they prepared to return to the USS Matla. The mission, however, was far from over. Back aboard the USS Matla, Major Tom Hawk stood in the ship's research lab, his gaze fixed on the containment field holding the strange, otherworldly puppy. The small creature, now affectionately named Phantom by Sergeant Roy, lay curled up at the center of the energy barrier, its shimmering fur flickering in and out of visibility, as if caught between two dimensions. "Hard to believe something so cute caused so much destruction," Roy said, leaning casually against the wall, his eyes following the puppy's every move. "Still, a hell of a story to tell when we get back." Major Hawk remained silent, his focus unbroken as he watched Phantom. There was something unsettling about the creature's abilities. Its phasing wasn't just an odd quirk. It defied known physics, bending the laws of space and matter in ways Hawk had never seen before. This was more than a mission cleanup. This was a discovery that could have profound implications. Lieutenant Hannah Thompson, the team's xenologist, stepped up beside Hawk, her tablet in hand, scanning Phantom's energy readings. "Its phasing abilities are off the charts," she murmured, furrowing her brow. "It's not just moving through solid objects. It's temporarily stepping into another dimension. That's why our containment field is barely holding it. Whatever this thing is, it's operating on an entirely different set of physical rules." Hawk didn't look away from the puppy, but his mind raced with possibilities. Could it be weaponized? The question hung in the air, cold and clinical. Thompson hesitated. Potentially. If someone figured out how to control or replicate its abilities, they could bypass any security system, penetrate any defense. It could change the way we think about warfare. Her voice lowered, as though speaking the words aloud made the threat more real. But it's also intelligent. Far more intelligent than any animal we've ever seen. This isn't just some biological curiosity. Sergeant Roy shook his head, incredulous. "Weaponizing a puppy? Feels wrong, man. Just wrong." Hawk turned to face him, his expression unreadable. Feelings don't matter. Threats do. His voice was flat, professional, but a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. Phantom didn't seem like a threat, not in the conventional sense. But Hawk had learned long ago that appearances could be deceiving. The creature's innocence didn't negate the fact that it possessed abilities that could reshape the battlefield. Suddenly, the lab's lights flickered and a low hum filled the room. The containment field wavered, its glow dimming for a moment. Phantom lifted its head, eyes wide, its fur rippling like a shadow caught in a breeze. Hawk immediately tensed, his hand instinctively moving toward the control panel. "Status report," he barked. Corporal Diaz, stationed at the control console, rapidly typed in commands. "The field's destabilizing. I'm picking up massive energy surges, like it's drawing power from the ship systems. We're losing containment. Shut it down. Now," Hawk ordered. Diaz's fingers flew over the controls, but it was too late. With a pulse of energy, the containment field collapsed. Phantom leaped out, phasing through the nearest wall before anyone could react. "Damn it," Hawk growled, already moving toward the door. "Lock down the ship. I want this creature contained before it causes more damage." As the team sprinted into action, Phantom darted through the corridors, moving with impossible speed. Each time they closed in, it would phase through walls or floors, reappearing elsewhere in the ship. Its playful nature was at odds with the chaos it left in its wake. Equipment malfunctioned, energy surges rippled through the ship systems, and alarms blared as the USS Matlas struggled to cope with the creature's destabilizing presence. Thompson kept pace with Hawk as they moved, her voice urgent. "It's not doing this on purpose. Its abilities are tied to its emotions. The more scared or excited it gets, the more unstable it becomes. Then how do we calm it down?" Hawk snapped, frustration edging into his voice. "Let me try something," Thompson said, pulling out a small device from her belt. She activated it and a low-frequency hum filled the air, designed to soothe and relax biological organisms. "It's a long shot, but it might work." They found Phantom in the engine room, darting between the machinery, its form flickering as it phased through solid metal, like it was made of air. The ship's systems groaned under the strain of its presence. One wrong move here, and the entire ship could be at risk. Hawk motioned for the team to hold their positions. Thompson stepped forward cautiously, holding the device out. "Phantom," she called softly, her voice gentle. "It's okay. We're not going to hurt you." The creature paused, its large eyes locking onto hers. For a moment, the flickering stopped, its body stilled, no longer phasing. Thompson slowly moved closer, keeping her movements calm and non-threatening. She activated the device fully, and the low-frequency hum filled the room, creating a sense of peace. Phantom's first shimmered, but it didn't phase away. Instead, it took a hesitant step toward her. Thompson crouched down, offering her hand. "That's it. You're okay." The creature sniffed her hand, then nudged it softly. The energy surges around the room faded as Phantom calmed down, its abilities no longer destabilizing the environment. Hawk watched the scene unfold, a mix of relief and calculation running through his mind. This creature wasn't a monster, nor was it an accident of nature. It was something much more complex and much more dangerous. Sergeant Roy stepped forward, his usual bravado tempered by awe. "Well, I'll be damned. We're babysitting an interdimensional puppy." Hawk remained silent, his gaze still fixed on Phantom. The creature's abilities were staggering, potentially world-altering. But now, as it nestled contentedly by Thompson, its innocent eyes reflecting the soft light of the engine room, Hawk couldn't help but feel conflicted. This wasn't just a weapon, nor was it a simple curiosity. It was a living being, and whatever came next, Hawk knew they would have to tread carefully. As Phantom settled, purring softly, Hawk turned to his team, his voice low but firm. "We need answers. Where it came from, how its abilities work, and what it means for us." This mission just became a lot more complicated. The ship's engines hummed in the background, the tension still lingering in the air. They had contained Phantom for now, but the questions surrounding the creature's origins and its future remained as elusive as ever. The command deck of the USS Matla was unnervingly silent as Major Tom Hawk stood at the center, arms crossed, gazing at the massive holographic screen. On it, the face of a Rian ambassador glowed with an eerie luminescence. His elongated features were cold and severe, his pale skin marked by intricate, swirling tattoos that signified his status in the alien hierarchy. His name was Vicaridiach, a high-ranking diplomat of the Rian Dominion, and the moment of truth had arrived. Behind Hawk, his team stood ready. Lieutenant Hannah Thompson was poring over data streams. Sergeant Roy remained uncharacteristically quiet, and Corporal Diaz was at the communications console, monitoring every flicker of the alien broadcast. Phantom, the interdimensional puppy, lay curled near Thompson's feet, a strange reminder of the volatile situation they now faced. "We know what you have, human," Vicaridiach began, his voice like the rumble of distant thunder. "That creature is ours. It belongs to the Dominion. Return it, or suffer the consequences." The demand, though expected, still sent a ripple of tension through the room. Hawk's expression didn't change, but his mind raced. He understood the stakes. The Rayans were a formidable power in the galaxy, and a direct confrontation would not end well for Earth. But Phantom was no ordinary creature. Its abilities represented a breakthrough, an opportunity too valuable to give up without a fight. Vicaridiach's eyes narrowed, a subtle glow of displeasure crossing his pale face. "You misunderstand. That creature is not some discarded cargo. It is a living weapon, a critical asset of our Dominion. Your laws do not apply here." Hawk remained calm, though he felt the weight of the ambassador's words pressing down on him. Phantom stirred at Thompson's feet, its fur shimmering faintly as if sensing the tension in the air. Hawk had seen what Phantom could do, and the idea of handing it over to a hostile alien empire was unacceptable. But diplomacy had to come first. War could wait. Lieutenant Thompson stepped forward. "Ambassador, Phantom's abilities are remarkable, but it's also a sentient being. It isn't just a weapon or a tool to be used. It has intelligence, emotions, even a connection to our team. Is your Dominion truly prepared to treat such a creature as nothing more than property?" Vicaridiach's eyes flicked to Thompson, his expression unreadable. "Your sentiments are irrelevant, human. We created it. It is ours by right." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Hawk clenched his jaw. They were hitting a wall, and time was running out. The Rayans would not negotiate forever, and every second Phantom remained on the horizon increased the risk of an armed confrontation. Yet, surrendering the creature wasn't an option. There had to be a way to keep Phantom while avoiding a full-scale conflict. Hawk took a slow breath and leaned forward slightly, his tone hardening. "Ambassador, we're not unreasonable, but understand this. Phantom may have come from your Dominion, but it's under our protection now. You don't want this to escalate into something worse. Let's find a way to resolve this without bloodshed." Vicaridiach's eyes gleamed, the barest hint of amusement dancing in his cold gaze. "You threaten us, human. You think your small ship and fragile alliance can withstand the might of the Rian Dominion." The air grew thick with unspoken menace. Hawk didn't blink. "I think you know what Phantom's capable of, and I think you also know that if it's pushed too far, even your Dominion may not be able to control it. We're offering a chance to cooperate." A tense silence followed, stretching out like a drawn blade. Vicaridiach studied Hawk, his alien eyes probing for weakness, calculating the odds. The ambassador had power, but he wasn't reckless. The Rayans weren't here for a war. They were here for Phantom. If there was a way to gain what they wanted without conflict, they would take it. "Very well," Vicaridiach said at last, his voice low and measured. "We will entertain a negotiation. But understand this. Failure to comply will result in consequences far beyond your comprehension." Sergeant Roy, who had been unusually restrained throughout the exchange, finally broke his silence. "This guy sure likes to talk in riddles. he muttered under his breath. Hawk suppressed a grin but remained focused. "What do you propose, Ambassador?" Vicariach's gaze darkened, and he gestured with a long, elegant hand. "A trade. In exchange for Phantom, we will provide your kind with technological advancements beyond anything you could dream of. Warp drives, energy weapons, medical cures. These are within our grasp. Return our asset, and we will elevate your species." The offer was as tempting as it was dangerous. Hawk knew the promise of Rian technology would appeal to Earth's governments, but the cost was too high. Handing over Phantom, a living, sentient creature, in exchange for technological gains went against everything Hawk stood for. But how could they refuse without sparking a galactic incident? Thompson's voice cut through the silence. "Ambassador, what if we propose an alternative? We study Phantom together, share knowledge, split the findings. No one has to lose." Vicariach regarded her coldly. "You assume we need your help. We do not." Hawk saw his opening. "But you do need cooperation. We both know that creatures' abilities are unstable. We've seen it firsthand. If you try to force control, it could end in disaster for all of us. Work with us, and maybe we can both learn something." For the first time, Vicariach hesitated, the faintest crack in his icy demeanor. It was clear the ambassador wasn't convinced, but he also wasn't rejecting the idea outright. There was a chance. "We will consider your offer," Vicariach finally said, his voice clipped. "But know this. If you betray our trust, your world will pay the price." The transmission cut out, leaving the command deck bathed in the cold glow of the screen. For a moment, no one spoke. Hawk exhaled slowly, his eyes still on the spot where Vicariach's image had been. "That's a start," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. But he knew the negotiations were far from over. The real challenge was just beginning.